Welcome to the program, and so we come to week 2 of this election campaign, with the great debate and arguments already petering out about who might have won. Gillard and Tony Abbott today both made fresh spending announcements in the areas of hospitals and childcare, and debate over immigration and population sustainability continues to be an ongoing theme through this election campaign. The coalition declared at the weekend it would cut net migration levels to no more than 170,000 a year within a first 3-year term of coalition government, and promoted the claim again today. But the Gillard government says the numbers are already falling sharply anyway. One leading business group claims both sides are pandering to voters in marginal seats and warns Australia could pay a big price long term if it puts up the country full sign. I'll be talking with opposition leader Tony Abbott in a moment, but first, political editor Heather Hewitt reports.
Well, lovely morning.
Beautiful.
But lovely.
Brought them walk.
What colour is this?
Yeah.
Green. You can tell the health minister.
Absolutely.
There she is. Yeah, get the gel out.
Does anyone else want some water? Okay. Anyone else want some water?
G'day. How are you going?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Another day on the campaign trail, another day of the two leaders drip-feeding bits and pieces of policy announcements, as seems to have become their habit.
Today I announce that if re-elected, we will invest to support the training of up to 2,000 new emergency nurses over the next decade.
Today I make a further important announcement which will take some of the cost of living pressure of struggling families.
As long as they're always announcing something, it seems we're all supposed to be satisfied this is enough to judge them on. For Julia Gillard, more emergency staff in hospitals was the focus of the day. So, right on cue, she visited a hospital in Launceston to announce a $96 million investment plucked out of the May budget.
It is new. The government made provision for this in the budget, but we are announcing it today. Obviously, for everything we announce in the campaign, we've got a rule, and that rule is nothing we announce during the course of the campaign will add a cent to the budget bottom line.
And just to be sure we grasped his chosen message of the day, Tony Abbott and his wife Margie visited a childcare centre in Brisbane where he pledged to reintroduce the indexation of the childcare rebate and provide an extra $300 a year for every child in care. He was also at pains to make this point.
I'm particularly pleased that Margie has been able to join me on the campaign trail today.
An opportunity like this to herald early learning and care, quality care, is an opportunity I couldn't let slip.
Tony Abbott's wife is a private person and a child care professional in her own right. So far, her campaign appearances have been limited. That could change with what appears to be a definite theme now running through her husband's campaign language. Take his opening lines in last night's carefully rehearsed debate.
My wife Margie and I know what it's like to raise a family, to wrestle with a big mortgage.
Do you think you have an advantage by playing the family card over Ms Gillard, given that she is unmarried and has no children?
Look, I think families are important. I take them seriously, and I think it's very important that both sides of politics have serious policies to address the needs of families.
We haven't seen Tim out on the campaign trail. Where is he? Will he be campaigning with you? And do you think Mr Abbott was having a bit of a chip at you last night when he harped on to being such a family man?
Oh, look, no, I didn't. And, the debate is there for Australians to judge. Obviously, for my partner Tim, he views his job as being supportive of me, and he is very supportive of me. He is not a Labor Party official or a candidate or a minister, so you won't see him out on the campaign trail in that sense.
Julia Gillard's partner, Tim Matheson, was not present at last night's debate, which both sides, predictably enough, were both claiming to have won. There was nothing new, spontaneous or especially passionate in the debate, with neither side wanting to put a foot wrong. That's infuriated business groups who complain this entire campaign is lacking substance on the big issues like economic policy and say both sides are guilty.
It's always tough in an election campaign to move away from the 15-second soundbite, but it's absolutely imperative that the community be treated with the respect and the maturity that's required in an election context, because Australia as a nation is not an island. We can't isolate ourselves from the rest of the world.
It's the focus on population sustainability and immigration that's really worrying business, with Tony Abbott throwing in a fresh idea today to address immigration numbers. He claims his paid parental leave scheme would encourage Australian couples to have more children.
The beauty of this is that it is an economic reform. It will boost population, it will boost productivity.
The Coalition is still absolutely committed to one for mum, one for dad and one for Australia.
It's been on radio this morning that your paid parental leave scheme was a way to boost the population, and yet you want to cut immigration. Isn't that a contradiction?
Well, I think that it is quite possible to make an important distinction between the children of Australians and people coming to this country. And I want to stress that I am an immigrant myself, and I will never be anything other than pro-immigrant.
It's for the voters to work out the logic of that as the day degenerated into a statistical argument between the government and the opposition over Tony Abbott's announcement yesterday he'd slash migration numbers to no more than 170,000 a year in the first term of a coalition government.
Now, of course, what he was doing was using figures from 2008, not acknowledging that immigration had already fallen to 230,000, not acknowledging that the net overseas migration numbers were projected to be 175,000 and then 145,000. So Mr Abbott out there claiming as his new policy something that I'm already delivering.
So the Coalition has a clear policy to put immigration on a sustainable level. The government has no policy.
Business looks on in horror, warning of the long-term dangers of pitching messages that target the western suburbs of Sydney and elsewhere.
The idea that we should somehow put up the country full sign is a very negative idea. It's one which actually works against all of the foundations that were built up over the past quarter of a generation.
From tomorrow and for the rest of this campaign, the stage is now set for more spending announcements, with the Treasurer releasing an upbeat pre-election budget surplus outlook late this afternoon.
With a slightly bigger surplus, $3.5 billion compared to $3.1 billion.
There's no explanation of why the terms of trade would go up and the exchange rate would go down.
But these are the figures both sides will now use to submit their policy costings throughout the campaign under the Charter for Budget Honesty set up by Peter Costello.